Okay, well, I tried to make this video a moment ago, and I got distracted by sirens, and then I was rambling, and I was talking about my camera. All of that aside, this video should be specific to the topic I wanted to talk about, which was some bad advice. And in particular, this was about the idea of be yourself. This term, be yourself. And I've been hearing this since I was a kid. Of course, we all have. But I never realized there was an issue with it until about a year ago, when somebody brought it to my attention that it bothers them. That term bothers them. And I heard this from several different people online, so therefore I wanted to look into it a little more, in my own mind at least, and say, what is it about that, in particular people don't like? Well, it becomes pretty apparent when you consider that the person who needs that advice the most is trying to find themselves. That's the whole point. So, when you have a generation of younger people growing up, and we all remember what it was like to be a teen going into your 20s, it's awkward, trying to find your way in this world and figure out who you really are outside of school and your friend groups. And somebody comes along and says, oh, just be yourself. That's not solving any of the problems that we face trying to discover who we really are. That's just, compounding the problem, if you will. I can think of a few things that we should do, and we should be honest. We should be kind to each other. We should be fair, which isn't the same as honesty, because people can be honest and still bullshit people and bullshit themselves into thinking what they're doing or the amount they're taking from the pie is fair. But be fair. And finally, be curious. Always remain skeptical and have an open mind and look into things with real interest. If we do these things, I think that generally we find out who we are. It's when we shut down on one of these things, because love is in there. I didn't want to include, connections as far as having a family, but it is important to a lot of people who have family. Those who don't, though, sometimes can find purpose in other things and still have a community of like-minded individuals while not having any direct connection with loved ones. But I really think that love is a major important part of finding out who we are. And one of the crucial aspects of this is having a significant other that can point out our flaws. Because here's what you realize, is the older you get, the less people are willing to just tell you how they really feel about you. They are going to be more withdrawn. They're going to just sigh or roll their eyes in their mind when you say something that they disagree with or that they think is dangerous. And that's a detriment to us as individuals. We want feedback. We need feedback. Now look, I'm a stubborn guy. But I heard one guy put it one time. He said, I'm not stubborn. Your ideas have just failed to convince me. And I don't remember, he put it much more eloquently, but yeah, that stubbornness is completely separate from just saying I don't agree with you. And a lot of people call you stubborn if you disagree, and whether you're right, I guess, remains to be determined. But I've been accused of being stubborn, and I'm okay with that. But I'm always right. No, I think a lot of humility is in order for us to find out who we really are. Being curious and being flexible, too. Being flexible I should have had on the list as well. I mean, that's being able to roll with the punches, being able to take whatever comes your way without getting overly upset. There's some people out there who seem to have it all together, but the minute the shit hits the fan, they just crumble, under the pressure. They can't handle it. I mean, I'm sure everyone out there has had an emergency in your life, someone you love or a situation. How we handle those emergencies is crucial. Whether it's a car accident, whether it's a dead loved one, whether it's a loss of a job, it could be anything. And shit, we've had to go through the loss of a loved one, my wife's mom, and the loss of my job in the last couple months. There are some people who will take their own, spirit just for losing their job. It's insane how attached people are to physical things and ideas, because that's become them. So when we are finding out who we are, I think it's very important to not let ourselves get mixed up with the stuff. Because we are not the stuff. We are not the things we do. As I said before, I'm not a carpenter. I'm a guy who does carpentry. I have many other things, hobbies and interests, and philosophical interests that are way beyond what I do for a living. But we're very attached to symbols and ideas. And it's hard for us to break away from that, because when you do, you're floating in the void. And floating in the void, you have to find your own symbols, your own symbology, and what works. If you've ever been in a very heavy psychedelic state, you may have seen visually some of the archetypes, as well as some of the languages, hieroglyphic-like, right? Or Japanese characters, these kinds of things which can pop into the mind, and you start to see these ideas take shape, these basic archetypes of life, you know, good, evil, and you understand the journey and the Ouroboros and the fact that everything is a cycle. And when you discover that you are just part of the whole, sometimes that can scare the shit out of people. And I only bring that up because if you're finding yourself, if you're trying to figure out who you are in this world, and you go down the psychedelic route, you might get just as deluded as anyone else who never tried them. Let's just say that psychedelics can help people have vast insights into who they are and who they want to be. However, they can also convince you that you're somebody you're not. It's the old ego complex. It's also there's a few different terms for it, but the Grateful Dead had a song called "Estimated Prophet," and it was about a guy who could be any deadhead at a show back then. Who the song talks about him on the shore of California preaching, and people believing him, basically like a cult leader. The kind of mentality that humans have is to follow other humans. And when people don't know who they are, when we don't know what kind of a person we are, it's so easy for us to fall prey and victim to somebody else's whims. This is why the military gets them young. If you can convince people when they're young that something is, you know, normal or right, then, you know, they'll fall right into it, and then they will begin to identify with it, and that will become their sole identity. But if we know ourselves well, then we can choose these things on our own volition because we want to, not because we feel we have to suit somebody else's needs. So, I'm using this old camera. It's 15 years old. I got it at a garage sale for like $5. It's an old Sony Cybershot. Don't know how long the videos are, or if it's even still recording. Sometimes they cut off at like 10 minutes, so I'm just going to leave it at that. It's a test run, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Thanks for watching. Peace out.